Before we get into everything, I want to talk about the beer sponsor of this show. You guys already know that that's a great tasting, less filling Miller Lite.
The absolute best. March with Miller Lite is rolling right into April with opening day.
It is.
We got the draft coming up.
Final Four.
Everything. And everything goes great with Miller Lite.
Yeah, we got a great show for you coming today. We talked to Mike North for like an hour and 10 minutes talking about just enjoying time with old school Chicago athletes, having some Miller Lights. Mm-hmm. It's the best.
Yeah, story time.
Yeah, it was nice.
Mm-hmm.
We had a nice Miller with our guys Tevin Jenkins and
sure did
and Cole Komet this week. So
big Miller Lite guys.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're the more you're around people, you just remember those moments that are Miller time. So listen, till kickoff comes around again, enjoy the taste of beer that tastes like the season. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories to get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/midshow, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. All right, bang, welcome to the Mid Show. We have a very special guest to lead everything off. It is Mike North, Chicago radio legend. Mike, welcome to the show. Please give White Sox Dave his verbal lashing about his words about Walter Payton.
You know what? I'm a nicer guy than I used to be. Because, and Dave and Chief, I love you guys, but I heard and I love the whole deal that you guys do. So I tune in quite frequently, and I heard you guys talking about Walter Payton. And you know what? In a way, Dave was right about one thing, but then he went a little bit too far. Because when you think of Walter Payton, you think of Walter Payton as a bruising back. He didn't have but then you think of Walter Payton as a running back who had speed. But then you think of Walter Payton as a guy that could throw passes and do it all. So if they would have said he had more of a style like Tony Dorsett or, somebody else, instead of saying he wasn't an athlete, I heard that and I went, oh,
right.
I gotta say something here. I'm getting lumped in with this take. I was on your side from the second he said it. Yeah.
Yeah, Chief, you went right off the top with it. So I figured that's why when Eddie said, "Hey, Mike," on Twitter, cook him, I said, "Nah, you guys did the job already. There's a reason he's not Chicago Bear Dave and he's White Sox Dave." But I saw Walter. I heard from Carl. He said he walked on his hands. Well, I saw him one night after a golf outing we were at together, walk on his hands for 10 yards. He used to walk the width of the field, 50 yards. He was a gymnast. He was a guy, if you saw, would get up off the ground higher than anybody else when he had hardly any takeoff room. He'd be up 8 yards over the goal line. So he was just a tremendous athlete. It was a lot of fun to explain the facts because he was as strong a guy as most linebackers. Yet he was as fast, and here's the key. He played like Campbell sometimes. Sometimes he played like Sanders. Sometimes he played like a variety of guys. The closest guy to Sanders that was a Bear was Gale Sayers.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no comparison, though. I asked Gale Sayers one time, I said, who is better? Because we used to do the Hooter shows together every Tuesday. And I had done shows with Walter previously. I go, who is better? You or Barry Sanders? And he said, let me tell you something. I don't even know how you could say that, Mike. And I said, why? He says, if you told Barry Sanders you were going to drive 15 miles from the south side, play at Wrigley Field in zero weather with mud that was painted green, okay, and you told me that I could play once I left my house in 72 degrees on AstroTurf, he said, I would have gained 2,000 yards. I said, well, yeah, now with 16 games. He goes, no, 14. That's what he told me. And now I'm going to have to sit through this documentary with Barry Sanders. And Gale Sayers is still the all-time leading kickoff returner in yards. So we can't pick a quarterback, but boy, we can pick up some running backs. If you look up Gale Sayers for kickoff returns, it's not Hester. Hester's was the best for touchdowns. But Sayers, I think, averaged 32 yards every time he got a kickoff. Ooh. And I remember Hallis was befuddled because they had two guys in back to get the kickoff, Cecil Turner and him. So then they wouldn't kick the Gale. So then he put one behind the other, and they had to guess. Now you wouldn't even have another guy back there. They never used to have one guy back for the kickoffs. They had two. So just saw some great running, but Walter Payton was the best because he also asked me, Gale Sayers, he says, who was the better running back? One day he just says, who was better, me or Walter? And I went, for one game, you. For a season, Walter.
I think
that's a fair take.
That's a fair answer.
He said, and you know what he said? That's okay.
Yeah.
That was the only answer I could come up with, because if I needed a kickoff return, if I needed a running back to run with on mud, 50 yards while everybody was sliding around, it'd be Gale. But if you want just a monster of a ball player all around,
Mike,
I mean, 39 yards for on the average.
For some of I guess our younger listeners and even us, like for you've seen it all, and this is a tough question, but like in that pantheon, who is your Mount Rushmore of like the must watch Chicago athletes?
Oh my gosh, well Jordan, but you see him every day. I don't even know if he's a guy. I think Eddie, what you're talking about is who's a guy that's under the radar, or we always talk about Jordan.
Yeah.
You got to see if you could. I mean, listen, guys, I've been in two home football stadiums my whole life, Wrigley Field and Soldier Field. How pathetic is that? I mean, when all these other stadiums got great things. So these guys still played under primitive conditions. Gale Sayers is on there. Walter Payton's on there. Earl Campbell was just unbelievable. I mean, there'd be 5 guys hanging around him. I mean, it's just, as far as running backs go, and I got to put Jimmy Brown in there. He was a man among boys. So those would be my 4. Campbell doesn't get enough credit. That poor guy can't even walk anymore.
He's like the ultimate NFL Films running back to me, where he has those highlights where they're like literally ripping his jersey off and he won't go down. He just keeps bulldozing people. So I think and those great uniforms too, the old Houston Oilers uniforms. So that's a great pick.
Yeah, Sayers had the tearaway jerseys too. Back then, they made his jersey so thin that when it was grabbed, it would rip off. And that's what these guys used to do. Then they outlawed that. I mean, I go back to when when the Bears wore long sleeves. So, if you watch Butkus, for instance, I have a Butkus poster from 1960. They got long sleeve shirts on. So, I mean, it was so primitive back there. The one Bear end zone was only on the one part, where the wall juts in. It was 8 yards.
It was like 48 yards. Yeah.
And if you caught a pass, you'd fall into the band. The band was right in the corner of the end zone, and there's a tuba player looking at you. So it was just cool. But there wasn't a bad seat. I'll tell you that right now. Not a bad seat in the house at Wrigley Field.
Yeah. What do you think about? Let's get into other topics too. What do you think about?
I love other topics, Eddie. By the way, can I say something about my man Eduardo?
Yeah. What do we got?
All you guys do great videos, but I must have played the video 50 times of you on St. Patrick's Day. It just brought me back to my years. I've been 17 years sober, but man, whoever's available, let's dance. And that one lady, they both look like fun. They had to be tourists. I mean, don't tell me they lived in Bridgeport and they decided to stay the night. But that was a fantastic video. I wanted to throw that in.
Thank you, Mike. I saw the ladies. I saw my opportunity. I just jumped in. Missed the boat. Had to do something. Yeah. What do you make of both the Sox and the Bears stadium situation?
Well, I mean, the Bears stadium situation was a mistake to begin with, guys, because you never build an open air seat stadium in inclement weather, tax the people, and like they did with Soldier Field, and play 8 games at 10 games a year.
Yeah.
10 games, no revenue anywhere. If you're going to go see a concert, now I've seen the Stones there. I've seen some concerts there. Okay. But that's summer only. Okay. So they screwed that up from the beginning. That whole deal, that should have never even happened. That stadium deal there. The Arlington Park situation, I thought we brought Warren here to figure that out. Then I find out a year later he's getting a COO, and then I read in the paper, they had to check out the landscape and everything. You could check out the taxes in a week or two. You think Dick Portillo buys a piece of land and says, I'm going to wait a year before I hire somebody to build a Portillo's? Or do you think they start breaking ground right away? So I don't know what Warren, what he's doing there. That's a mistake. I still hope they go to Arlington Park, because if you're not going to enforce laws, if you're going to take 2 hours to get there, if it's the hardest stadium still to get to. I mean, the Bears have the smallest stadium in the National Football League. It's open air, and you can't do anything with it once the Bears stop playing, except a few concerts that you can throw in. So I don't know what's going to happen. I do know this. I plan on living to be 100, but that's a 50-50 thing. I don't think I'll see a new stadium in the next 7-8 years, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that's going to happen. They got at least till 2031. So now what? All of a sudden, they're back in Chicago.
Don't they still owe like $600 million in interest too?
You know, you are sharper than I thought. You're making a comeback here.
I am. I tell everybody
what
that.
they're doing is they're borrowing against the finances and stuff. They may never pay fully for that stadium. They've been going off the interest and everything else. So it was a whole Ted Phillips debacle, and they haven't changed at all, in my opinion. So, I mean, I wish they were still at Wrigley. If you're going to hold them to 60,000, just, build another deck in the outfield. I mean, I see they set up golf courses now. There's 50,000 people in them, and they put them up in a week, like the waste management thing. So it's, I remember when the Bears had portable bleachers, but and you couldn't basically play in Wrigley Field till the Cubs were done. But the cool part about it was Halas always knew they'd be done by September 30th. Believe me.
Yeah. No, you're
Times
right.
haven't really changed too much.
It feels like all they did was temporarily buy Arlington to tear down the track and then start over back in the South lot.
Yeah. I want to know why Arlington was torn down to begin with if you didn't even have the taxes and everything else set up yet. I don't want to know how you're specifically for a stadium, and it's still a year later. He goes, wow, I never saw politicians like this. We better get a COO in here to help me out. So it's a weird deal to me that they're back there, and who knows what's going to happen from there on, because I don't hear anything coming out of anybody.
Hey, let's take a break from talking to Mike North to talk about Dave & Buster's. Last year, there were 35 personal fouls in the championship game. So this year, we're going to foul, F-O-W-L, and foul, F-O-U-L. You can follow me, Dave?
I'm following you.
Okay, so with every foul, we're enjoying a chicken wing from Dave & Buster's.
Ooh.
And with all-you-can-eat chicken wings and a $10 power card starting at $22.99 every Monday and Thursday after 4 p.m. for the duration of the tournament, you can go foul for foul too.
That's an awesome deal.
That is nice.
Yeah.
It is nice.
I bet you Mike North's a huge Dave & Buster's guy.
Absolutely.
I can see that.
I'm sure he is. And don't forget, throughout the tournament, we're washing away your sorrows with $2 beers and $5 shots. Price and participation may vary. We love that.
Love that.
We love that.
Get a couple $2 Miller Lights.
So one more time, every Monday and Thursday throughout the tournament, Dave & Buster's is celebrating with all-you-can-eat wings and a $10 power card starting at $22.99. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's get back into Mike North.
All I hear is that as soon as the White Sox announced this plan, that I think it's the IFSC fund, which they are both looking to tap into, the Taurus fund.
Yes.
They're gonna there's only a finite amount of money for to dole out. And Reinsdorf and the McCaskey families, as soon as Reinsdorf is like, oh shit, the Bear, we need a stadium. I need to up the resale price when I die, and so my heirs can sell it for that much more. As soon as Warren heard that, it was like, oh shit. Yeah. We're losing all our leverage with the city right now. We need to, because we're the Bears, we can bully the White Sox. We need that. We need this because you can't have the two stadiums that close together, apparently.
I prepared for this interview, guys. I know it's going to surprise you, but I got to tell you something. $2 billion to build a new stadium. $3 billion for a roof. A retractable roof, a lot more. But that's the way they should go. But they want to get something built to enhance their own wealth. That's the way it is. And Jerry Reinsdorf is so obvious. He's playing out of the playbook he did in 81.
Yep.
I'm going to go to Tampa. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to Nashville. You know, that's somebody that, in my opinion, I like Jerry, but Jerry's been a horrible owner, especially the last 10 years. When you say you need the finance, you need a better stadium so you can go out and get big players. Tell me what big players you got in the past. I mean, I didn't see Bryce Harper. You always have rumors. Bryce Harper, Ohtani, Garrett Cole.
Machado.
They're all smoke screens.
I got one name for you. He did it once, and it was just a fuck you to the rest of the league. Albert Bell.
Yeah.
That's it. And that was to prove a point. He's like, hey, you guys want to let these players' salaries get out of control? Watch this. I'll pay more for a player than any of you can afford, and it's just a middle finger to all you guys who are letting this happen.
I think when you have 200 people at your last game, you're not exactly holding the cards. Okay, they had 200 people in the stands during that rainout. Not the game last night, the day before. Congrats on them winning. They played a tough ball club. But you look how Atlanta runs their team, and then you look at how the White Sox run their team. Or you can go across town.
Yeah.
Because Tom Ricketts, I hung out in that neighborhood back when I was a kid. Okay, you could buy the buildings with the change in your pocket back then. It was like a downtrodden neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then it became mixed, and then it became dangerous, and then it became this. I look now, I thought I was in Denver. I drove down there once. I go, where are we? You know, because it looked completely, utterly different. I mean, where's the guy that used to have the one leg selling the peanuts? What happened? You know what I mean? Where are these people? Where's Ronnie Woo Woo? Now
Ronnie Woo Woo, we saw him on opening day. Ronnie Woo Woo is still around.
He was at Sox Park too, right? I just saw him.
We saw him at Sloan in Arizona.
That's where it was.
And then we saw him on opening day as well.
Yeah.
At Sluggers.
I can't buy a toothbrush, but he travels the world. I don't know, in the same uniform. I used to have him on just to kill time. He'd go, Cubs, woo, Cubs for 5 minutes, and me and Jiggets would rest.
How is Jiggets doing?
He's doing great. I haven't talked to him for a while, but he's doing great. He's a grandpa. He's a grandpa thing. Yeah, everybody's doing
that was
well.
The heyday of Chicago radio.
You know what? It's so widespread now, and you guys, I saw what you guys do is what we used to do. Only, I mean, I remember the first 3 months. They go, you have no ratings because we were a 12-hour station, and they hadn't adjusted it. They were judging 24 hours. I go, that's impossible. I can't go anywhere. Everybody's telling us they love the show. Okay. And then they fixed it, and then that's when it took off. But you guys are a facsimile of it. You really are. And podcasting, radio's left the door open. And so have computers and everything else to do good work and to give people more opportunity. I used to broker time. They said, you want to get into radio? I go, yeah, I think I could do it. They go, well, you're too old. You're 38. I go, really? I said, then I found out how to broker time. It was $300 a week back then. So I spent my own money, got my own producer, brokered time for an hour a week, put it into Sun Times, and then 2 years later, they started the sports station. So all I know is you guys do good stuff.
We appreciate that.
I can't get over Eddie on St. Patrick's Day.
we gotta have a.
I just hope nothing happened afterwards.
Yeah, they had a room upstairs, Mike.
Oh, I bet they did.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Mike, you've been around for have you ever spent time with Jerry? Like, you guys used to smoke cigars at Brands Park, or like, what can you tell us about the guy? You know, because you said you like him. Yeah, about Jerry Reinsdorf.
Oh, Jerry.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you thought Jerry Reinsdorf. Jerry has other people do his dirty work. Jerry tries to stay out of the muss. He's got the same group of people, if you check, that from the early 2000s that are working there. Look at what Kenny Williams was there forever. That was another story that was fabricated, that the Toronto Blue Jays back in the day were after Kenny Williams.
Wait, talk to me. Why was that?
That was a few years back. You could look it up.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and what that was, in my opinion, was Reinsdorf saying, we got to keep Kenny Williams. We got to keep Kenny Williams because I want to know where the other offers were, even after they won the World Series. So the Sox leak stuff all the time. Kenny Williams, Rick Hahn. We never knew who ran the team. I always knew it was Kenny. But you also got other players there. Scott Rayford, you got Brooks Boyer, and they are in a bad spot right now. Jerry, I took to the Palace Grill. I said, let's go have lunch. Or come by the office. Because I do have a friendship with them. But at these little breakfast and lunch things we've had, I've let him have it. He lets me do it. He lets me do it.
What, does he sit there and take it, or does he argue with you?
Doesn't argue with me too much. Well, I'll give you one. I told him, and I can tell, I'm not going to tell any personal stuff that we've had. We've been friends for a long time, but I haven't talked to him for a while. I'm sorry that his wife passed. He's had some issues. The team's not doing well. The Bulls are a mess right now. It's not been exactly his heyday. But when they picked up Grandel, I told him, what are you doing? You got a 2-time All-Star in McCann.
Yeah.
And what he told me was they didn't really feel inside that he was a long-term guy. Okay. I go, yeah, but I don't believe this guy should be your most expensive free agent ever. And they picked him up, and I predicted from day one. Everybody said when somebody says he's a good framer and that's the best they can do, he had 2 number 1 shots with Milwaukee and with the Dodgers, and they let him go.
Yeah.
And the White Sox picked him up to give him a 3rd shot, and it didn't work. We let go of McCann, and when you change teams, things happen. McCann got hurt, but I think he's with the Orioles now.
Yeah,
or he was last year. So he's doing well, and I don't know where Grandel is, but he keeps making a lot of money, and he's one of the worst defensive catchers I ever saw. And the pitching staff, from people I talked to, weren't enchanted with him either. Weren't enchanted with them one bit.
The rumors are that he was a clubhouse problem too.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we were down in Arizona, I'm obviously not going to name names or anything, but it could have been the Bat Boy, and this didn't happen. You could have had a conversation with anybody with just a tangential tie to that organization, and they had something bad to say about Yasmani Grandal and his tenure in the White Sox. Just a complete asshole in the clubhouse. Pitchers hated throwing to him.
Yep. I just couldn't believe they decided to pay him. That's the last guy. And nobody says anything. I go, what's everybody doing? We just take anything that somebody gives us. We went from Harper to Grandel. I mean, we go from Machado to I don't know. You just name somebody. I mean, it just is amazing what we hear and what we don't receive. Really is. And now they want money, and I don't think you threaten to move to Nashville. That's not good strategy. And I think what I would like to do, if I was the mayor of the city of Chicago, I would tell Reinsdorf personally, you have an attendance clause, $2.6 million. You never make it for some reason. So then you don't have to pay rent. Here's what I want. You pay rent if you don't finish 500 or better. I mean, that's it.
How about that?
If you finish 500 or better, you pay. I mean, if you finish 500 better, you don't pay rent. If you finish 500 or worse, you pay the rent. Then you'll see some action.
Can we hire you as team president?
Mayor?
Oh, we would have won 2 World Series. I told him to hire me 20 years ago. Get rid of that guy. What's wrong with you? We got a good rapport.
Yeah, you're not past your political heyday, are you? Can we hire
make you the mayor?
Yeah, we'll make you. We'll just name you.
Let me tell you something, fellas. They tell you about, here's what I would do too. This guy's going to run for mayor. That guy's going to run for mayor. You know what happens now? You run for mayor, and they go, well, he did this back in 1994. Yep. He did that. Well, you know what I would do? I would just do investigations on the reporters. Nobody wants something out. Nobody. But I live in Huntley now, so my mom still lives in the city. My mom still lives in Rogers Park, and she don't want to leave. So, I go to see her.
And you made it all the way out to Huntley. That's quite the.
Believe me when I tell you this, it hasn't been far enough, Dave. I'm on Pulaski with my head on a swivel. I'm on Pulaski and Irving like this. I used to drive with the top down. You got to be careful. The next thing you know, you're pulled over. You go, what did I do? And it's, you're getting, thank God. I don't think they want my car. It's too beat up.
Oh, I don't know. I saw that caddy. That thing's beautiful. That thing's
nice.
a boat.
I don't want it. But I don't want my wife, if she got a Mercedes, I don't want her driving anywhere past Harlem.
Well, you just got to come back to Edison Park. Go to Basta Pasta.
I love Edison Park, Basta Pasta. The great Edison Park Inn.
Yeah.
The great area. It's Wrigley Field without the park. In the evenings, it had some of the greatest times of my life there. But once you stop, listen. Once you stop drinking, there's no sense being out past sundown, fellas. There really isn't.
Yeah.
Let's pause for a second here again because we got to talk about Portillo's.
This is a Chicago episode.
And I know Mike North loves himself some Portillo's.
He brought up Dick Portillo earlier. Yeah, exactly. So
a real businessman, a real leader in this.
Exactly. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And you guys already know how much we love the food, especially in Chicago. Like, the spots for all the classics, but there's only one spot that goes unrivaled across the board, and it's Portillo's.
Portillo's, our old joke, just blindfold, throw a dart at the menu, you'll hit something good.
Mm-hmm.
Tail and beef, jardinera to charbroil burgers hot off the broiler. We're talking cheese fries, onion rings, chopped salad, and chicken tenders. And, of course, the beloved Chicago hot dog and their famous chocolate cake shake. That's depth. With each and every menu item acting like a signature item, they've got the entire squad covered, or just for yourself, no shame.
Yeah, it's like usually when you go to a place, you might double up on orders if you're in a car with a group of guys. This is like everyone's going to get something different and everything's good.
Yep, it really is. So Portillo's, it always sounds good. Visit your local Portillo's or go to portillos.com to order your Italian beef or Chicago dog or cheese fries or cake shake for pickup or delivery. The best. All right, let's get back into the interview. Mike, what are you? What are we thinking about Caleb? Are you as sold on him as everybody else?
On who?
Caleb Williams.
Oh, here we go again, fellas.
Oh no!
No, give it to us. Give it to us.
Oh, come on. I watch them against. I don't have to watch a lot of games. I watch them against Notre Dame, threw off the wrong foot, bad mechanics, crying in his mother's arms. Well, how much do I have to see? My nephew, he's in sixth grade. He don't cry after a loss. This guy's going to lead our team. I saw a lot of time. I see a lot of him and Fields in the same situation. Ohio State quarterback, USC quarterback. There's never been a USC quarterback that's made any kind of, Carson Palmer.
Yeah, he's the one.
But then Joe,
No, Sanchez, there's a long list of Leinart. There's a long list of USC flameouts for sure.
Leinart, Barkley, Sanchez, Todd Marinovich. Mm-hmm. These guys were all predicted. Just like this guy has been predicted. Leinart was huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pat Hayden.
Yeah.
Pat Hayden was like a monster. And once they get into the league, it's different. And I just see so much time to pass in the Pac-12. And I see 3 transferees from tougher conferences go to the Pac-12, and all of a sudden they're all at the Heisman ceremony, except Williams. How is it he's a generational quarterback and he wasn't at the Heisman? I don't get it. How is it he's a generational quarterback and he lost, 5 games? I don't get it. When Peyton Manning was available, there was Ryan Leaf. Those were 2 guys, and people were trying to trade up one. How many teams are even trying to trade up with the Bears for one, fellas?
I think it's just such a foregone conclusion that it's Williams at one that they're not even trying anymore.
I'm choosing to believe. I'm choosing to be optimistic.
Yeah.
If it was ever going to work, it would be with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen and Cole Kmet, and they have this feel in a real defense. It feels like if there was ever going to be a quarterback in Chicago to have success,
it's one who's never played a down of NFL football.
It's fair to say that though. It's totally
I love the
fair.
Chief.
Yeah.
Don't become a Brave. You're a Chief. Be all knowing. Be all serious. I've been down this road 38 times.
Yeah.
It's 3 years. This buys Ryan Poles 3 years. But there was a comment in Twitter today that not everybody, you know what? I didn't have any allies when it came to Trubisky, and Fields, as we know, didn't replace him. But I have allies against Caleb Williams. I have Peter King. I have Keyshawn Johnson, and my favorite guy who used to ruin the narratives at ESPN. All the guys like Kuiper would go, he's great. And then Merrill Hodge, who says Caleb Williams is a project, would say, no, he's not. And then all of a sudden, Merrill Hodge was on the outside looking in. So you have faith, Chief. But what's the difference between him and Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, I think look at Jaden Daniels was spectacular this year, too. Kind of like Caleb was the year before when he had weapons everywhere at LSU. He's got two.
They're doing the Purdy, don't you think? They're thinking that Caleb Williams is better than Purdy, maybe. Mm-hmm. And they've set up a team of pros, great pros, like you just said, for Caleb. What I would have done, guys, is tried to trade the first pick, gone down, take Marvin Harrison, and then grab one of the other quarterbacks, because I know this from personal history. The Bears, if you leave it up to them to pick, they can't pick their nose for a first pick. So we'll see what happens. But would it surprise you if it doesn't work out?
No, I wouldn't be.
Ever.
I would never be surprised of the Bears failing at something. But
I want them to do it.
Yeah.
But when McMahon came, there was that aura.
Yeah.
I hold 72 records in college football, guys. And the Halas says to him, you know what? You got a bad eye. You got a bad arm. And McMahon said, then why the hell did you draft me? Period. And the rest was history. So I've been involved with cocky quarterbacks before. Not quarterbacks that lived in penthouses. Is the hunger there? Is the fire in the belly there? You know what I mean?
I listened to that.
Yeah, $10 million NIL.
Did you guys listen to that Poles interview with McAfee? It was really good, but he said this is the first time that like you're really seeing NIL athletes come through the draft process, because it's only a couple years old, and he was like the first actual like multi-millionaire that they've had to interview, and he's like, this is uncharted waters pretty much. Like, we don't know that like any of these guys, because they have their money sort of already, are going to come out ready to go. Because even if you are playing for a paycheck, I don't give a shit personally. You're playing for something, and that gets the best out of you, so be it.
And maybe it could swing the other way, where previously you would have a kid who's, not making any money in college, gets the money, and it changes him. If you want to be an optimist, I'm an optimist. Maybe maybe this is who he is, and the money that comes with the NFL won't change him because he's already had it.
Right.
Yeah, I'd rather take MJH and then draft one of the other quarterbacks. Then
MJH was living in penthouse too there, just so you know, in Columbus.
Grew up in one.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true too.
Yeah.
You know what? I always when I hit it big, first thing I said is get me a penthouse in Columbus quickly, because wait a minute, we're talking Los Angeles and Columbus. What was it? Somebody's attic? Was it somebody's attic?
But my point is that he's not slumming it up either. He was making millions too.
Yeah,
so that's the case with a lot of these guys in the first 10.
It's different
15,
when it's a quarterback, though.
For sure, definitely.
But you know what? I was good friends with Dennis Rodman, and he did it all. He painted his nails. He showed me some crazy videos, and he had wedding dresses on, so I don't care about that stuff. Mm-hmm. People are trying to make it about his pink phone and everything else. I didn't like him crying in his mommy's arms when everybody else was on the field. I didn't like it. I didn't think that was leadership.
Hey, that's fair.
Would Patton cry in his mommy's arms? Would Eisenhower cry in his mommy's arms? Did MacArthur go where somewhere I could cry? No.
Nuts.
The field general.
Someone said that after you lost that race outside the station, you cried a little bit.
Yeah. I did hear that. That is.
Man, I have heard that. Away. Chris Zorge, God bless him, man. He was another man child.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just certain guys. Zorge had the fire in his belly. Mm-hmm. Payton had the fire in his belly. You know what I mean? I got another guy painting his nails. That's fine. Rodman did the same thing. Can he be a Rodman? And here's another thing. But Rodman wasn't, like Chief said, the leader of the team.
Yeah.
Jordan said, I need you. When Pippen got hurt, I think they went 19-2.
Yep.
Because Rodman said, I won't let you down. But Jordan had to put him in line. So, like Chief says, it's like, I think it's because he's the quarterback that there's questions. I don't think. I'm hearing Dan Orlovsky's now starting to buckle a little bit about Caleb Williams being the number one guy. So I don't think the Bears, Hub Arky said the other day, the Bears still haven't made up their mind. And let me ask you three guys this. Chief seems to be invested in Caleb. Dave, you seem to be invested. Mm-hmm. Eddie, you're being a little bit coy about it. But
Eddie's a coy guy. Eddie's a coy guy.
There's no doubt about that. It's in his bio.
See, he knows.
But where are you guys if they don't draft Caleb and draft another quarterback? How can you say anything?
I got killed for saying this in December, but my dream scenario was you get Harbaugh in here, you take J.J. McCarthy, and you draft Marvin Harrison Jr. And then maybe also you go out and make a play for Kirk Cousins if J.J. McCarthy is.
I wanted that. That's good. Real quick
Yeah.
here before we go. I wanted Russell Wilson and a backup that we would draft in the first round.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh did it, but they took Fields. I don't know how that's going to work out. But Cousins would have put us in the playoffs, guys. I think we're that good.
100%.
Oh, especially with this receiver core. Well,
Yeah,
top two.
I think we're in. I think with Russell Wilson we would have had a chance. Here we got a guy, like I told the chief, we're set everywhere, but at the number one position as usual. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think if they say Pennick, will you be disappointed?
If it's Penix at 1, yeah, I'd be disappointed. But I guess I don't really. I loved Penix towards the end of the year.
I'm with you.
I think if I were sitting in Washington spot at 2, I think I'd take J.J. McCarthy. I really do. I think he's been in a pro offense. He's got a monster arm. He's a good athlete. He did everything they asked him to do at Michigan. I've been a J.J. McCarthy guy for at least this year.
Hometown kid too.
Yeah, and he's a Chicago area kid. Yeah.
If you want to go by lineage, like I just said about USC and I said about Ohio State, they can't produce nobody. Somebody said, "Hey, Mike, you lost your argument about Ohio State quarterbacks." It was my argument for 55 years. I won every year. And then they finally got a guy.
But he transferred from there. I don't even know.
He's talking Stroud, right?
Oh, sure. I was thinking Burrow. I was talking
Stroud.
Burrow, yeah.
But now, I just think that McCarthy, look, Michigan produces pro quarterbacks.
Yep.
Brady, Elvis Gerbach, Harbaugh.
Greasy.
Greasy.
Good quarterback.
They know
a guy named Tom Brady.
Yeah, they know how to produce quarterbacks.
Yep.
And Harbaugh said, now people think that maybe Harbaugh's trying to set a decoy, but I think he loves J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
He said he's the best quarterback in the draft. So who am I gonna believe? Holes? Who's gonna have? I guess they're gonna have a game show or something where they all discuss the picks and what they're gonna do. They're gonna have buzzers and everything else. Or do you believe Harbaugh? Who do you believe? So.
My whole thing is I like every single thing is just pointing to Caleb Williams being number 1, so I've kind of just resigned to the fact.
Same.
I also am at the
Was
point.
that because of the media steering it that way? Because I don't hear a lot of Bear fans. I hear some doubting.
I wanna bring up. You brought up the Notre Dame game. I love Notre Dame. He won the Heisman the year before with that game against Notre Dame. He was unstoppable in that game. So it's like people who always, and I hear that all the time. I watch the Notre Dame game. He was awful against a real defense. He didn't really have as much around him this year. Jordan Addison went to the Vikings. He was Biletnikoff winner. I do think that year before, if he's more like the year before where he had some talent around him, Notre Dame had no answers for him. And it was like they were about to sack him. Nope, spun out, first down, touchdown. He was 18 to 22, I think nearly 300 yards. He won the Heisman that night, and I'm just like, this is the best college quarterback I've seen in a long time. And then this year, you're right. Like, he was not nearly as impressive down to down the way he was the year before.
I think what's wrong with that, guys, is that everybody in Chicago heard about Caleb Williams being the number 1 pick maybe down the line. So we all sat down and watched him play badly that night. And that was a bad first impression for people. I sat down and watched that whole game. And I'm looking, I'm going, okay. And then I'm watching. Bo Nix was lost at Auburn sometimes.
Oh, he was awful.
Went to that league. And now they're talking about him.
Yeah.
Like he was Johnny Unitas.
He's also like 25 years old. He's like, like Bo Nix played for like 7 years. So
I thought I was the oldest guy in the Skyway Conference. I was 24 when I played junior college basketball. So I needed some VA money and I didn't have I got a GED and I said, I think I'll just go to college. I went to Truman.
There you go.
I passed at Truman.
Mike, you're as dejected and jaded as the rest of us about our teams.
Well, because I've taken 60 years of
Well, you're have much more experience with this misery than we do, even. Yeah. I mean, almost twice as much. But I'm trying my hardest not to fall in this trap, because with all my teams, I'm at like prove it, like say it, don't spray it mode. Where's your level of trust in Poles leading this team? Because I'm at the point, to your question, if they did shift to Jaden Daniels or Drake May, I'm like, it would scare the shit out of me, and I do think it would sort of be a death sentence in a way if it doesn't work out. But I'm at the point where I'm like, Poles knows what he's doing so far, you know?
I think Poles has done a good job so far.
Right. He's done a pretty good job outside. He still had guts to make trades even after the Claypool fiasco.
Yep.
And
the next one worked out fucking good.
Outside of not winning any games, he's been pretty good.
Well, yeah, and you know what? He decided to stick with Fields. And when you have a new regime, I think that he was pressured from upstairs, and they're 10-28. He was 10-28 as a quarterback, and they never had him compete. Just like Mitch, they never had Mitch compete in preseason.
Yeah,
they just hand these guys the job, fellas. You can't do that. You can't make the other players compete. The running backs, the linemen, the linebackers, and yet the quarterback just gets handed the job. And poor Justin Fields wasn't developed right. Nagy believed in Trubisky, then he didn't. He deserted him. Then he believed in Fields, and he deserted him. I mean, treated him.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing has just been a mess. And I wish they would have stayed with Mitch. I've been on record. You think you guys take a beating if you make a mistake. I took a beating for 4 years hearing that Justin Fields was better than Mitch. And I kept looking at the stats. I go, B, am I getting like the president where I'm thinking I'm seeing something, but I'm not? And she said, no, Mike, you're right. I looked at the stats. But the media, to Dave's point, he'd be disappointed because the media pushed Williams more than anybody. The Typers, the Orlowskis, the Ryan, the Clarks, guys like that, the Greenbergs. I mean, we have people from New York giving us advice about quarterbacks. Jet fans. They haven't had a quarterback since Namath. And they're telling us who to take. And we listen to their garbage. And it's all garbage. It goes for Greeny and everybody else. It's all garbage because they don't pay any penalty if we have the wrong quarterback.
Yep.
And it seems to be the Bears in the past have listened to the media a lot, and they listen like you guys. Oh, I'll be mad. I'll be a fan. They listen to the fans too much. Yeah. Just do your thing. I hope Poles does it right.
And listen, I wasn't playing quiet, I was just waiting for an opportunity here. I think it's one of those things where if they didn't go Caleb Williams, I'd be stunned. But I don't know if I'd necessarily be disappointed.
Yeah,
you know, because this is the mode. This is the draft mode. You grab onto optimism. You hope people are smarter than you, and they make the right decision.
Yeah.
So if by fucking chance, which probably not going to happen, we go Marvin Harrison Jr. and then we trade up for Drake May. Then I'll choose my own adventure with that route. I'll be like, all right, I'll be reading everything about him, and I'll sell myself on that. You just got to hope that the guy in charge is the right guy, and that's it.
You know what? I tell you what, Cutler is the mythical figure in this town because the media pushed him. Yet he was 50-50 with the Bears. But here's the secret that nobody knows. He was 2-11 versus the Packers.
Yeah.
You know how pitiful you are to go 2-11, and he had some players, and they just couldn't pull one out. It's the quarterback position. I know I won't be disappointed. I'm sort of scared if they do take Williams. They never pick right. So we'll see what happens. I do trust Poles. I do trust them. But I didn't like Cutler. I didn't like some of the quarterbacks. They invested 8 years in him. Yeah. They waited too long for him to come through, and he was puss face. I used to call him puss face. Always sad, always grumpy, on crutches for the one playoff, crazy.
And we should know, too, he does have a little Sooner blood in him, too. So he did have a good half a year there with Oklahoma. And different conference.
Troy Aikman went from Oklahoma to Los Angeles. That worked out.
So did Jack White.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to bring that up. Baker Mayfield. How about Baker? Hey, if he's Baker Mayfield,
Super Bowl.
You got to get with the right team. Yeah. Look what Baker Mayfield's done. Look what Goff did by switching, even though he wasn't done. Look at Stafford. I wanted a veteran like Wilson or Cousins because I see the other teams in our division. Love is the one guy, but they got Goff. They're going to bring, first of all, the Sam Darnold thing.
Ooh.
My God, $10 million for Sam Darnold. If we have a quarterback that had experience This was, I think we had a good chance of winning this division, but I think boy, the pressure is going to be on the Bears.
Yeah.
The pressure is going to, if they win less games than they did with Fields, and there's still so many Fields disciples, and I even like the way he played the last few games, there's going to be anarchy in this town.
Yeah. I do think that if you're sitting in Ryan Poles' chair and you don't take the consensus number one, and he turns out to be what some people say, you are fired. Not only are you fired, you're never working again.
You're fired.
You're done. So it's like if you take the guy that everybody says is the guy and he ends up not being it, you could be like, hey, like we did what everybody said was the best thing.
What happens if we take him? He's a bust and J.J. McCarthy goes off.
Yeah, that's a problem.
You know,
that's a problem too.
Because I'm going to paint the real scenario that's happened with every general manager. Here, goodbye. I always said the White Sox liked the rebuild because it bought Hahn 4 years. Yeah. This guy's supposed 3 years. See, so what are we going to do? I don't like waiting 3 years. I'm at the age now, guys. I don't want to keep waiting. I want to see something go on. But I'm a Bear fan from the time I was born. Yeah, I was handed a parlay card by the doctor. He said, go do it, get spanked on the ass. But I love the Bears. I just don't love the ownerships of this town. I used to think family ownerships were great, and maybe they are in other cities. But our families do a poor job of setting an example. The McCaskies, the Wirtz, and the Reinsdorfs.
All right, let's take one more break to talk about ChevyDriveChicago.com. The auto show may be over, but the best deals at your local Chevy dealer are still going. If it's that time of year for a new car, your local Chevy dealer has something for you. The all-new Equinox, Trax, and Blazer are SUVs you'll want to test drive and drive off in, giving everything from style to comfort, safety, and plenty of room. There's a Chevy SUV for you. We're talking to Mike. He's up in Huntley. Doesn't matter where you go. You could find where your Chevy dealer is the closest one to you if you just go to ChevyDriveChicago.com.
Type in your zip code and you're good to go.
That's all it is.
Yep.
That's all it is. You're driving around that Blazer. It looks good. Every time I pull up in the parking lot, I'm like, it's sharp.
It is. I know.
It's sharp.
Dave hates to admit that I got something that he likes.
I have to one up you. I'm going to have to get a Corvette or something.
Yeah.
It's out of spite.
But I will say, like, it was snowing today. But you don't just flip on those seat heaters, clicked it into four-wheel drive. It's a piece of cake. Everything is like
a little remote start?
I had to have a remote start.
Probably don't know how to use it because.
No, I do actually. They walked me through how to do the app. So they really help you with everything. I had a day where I forgot where I parked. You just pull it up on the app. And that is all because of Chevy Drive Chicago.
So you got like a legit Chevy Find My iPhone app.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah. When you're going through the process, they like sit you down and it's like, all right, like, yeah, how'd you like the test drive? Great. I just drive like a regular car. And then they do one kind of with you. And it's like, here's all the different things that make the experience better. That's the Chevy Drive Chicago difference.
So boom, head to ChevyDriveChicago.com to learn more about these cars and find your local Chevy dealer today. All right, let's get back into Mike North.
Is there any team in the city that you think is doing a good job or that you're optimistic about in the next?
You mentioned Ricketts. He's doing good.
Yeah.
Hey, he knocked down he doesn't go. I don't think he's asked for money.
No.
He spends his own dough, buys all the buildings, makes it look like another place. The stadium is beautiful. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I went down there. Then he's got the money from the sports book now.
Yep.
And that's his money. I mean, so don't tell me you can't afford players. And I love the way that I know they played it. They should have won 2 out of 3 at Texas, I thought. And I think they got their on. I'm glad that they're beating up Colorado. It's a race between the Sox, Colorado, and the Oakland A's. Oakland A's have made 15 errors in the first 6 games. They lost again yesterday. Yeah, it's brutal. So it's a race for those 3-4 teams. And Miami's gotten off to a bad start, too. Detroit Tigers are hot. Pittsburgh's 5-0.
Yeah, Pittsburgh hasn't lost yet.
What do you think?
The over-under was 76 on them.
Mike, what do you think about Eloy Jimenez's his durability?
Yeah, let's talk about this.
It has the durability of my 72 Plymouth Fury. My dad gave it to me. He goes, it's good. I was stuck on Damon near the stadium back when you shouldn't be stuck on Damon by the stadium.
Oof.
And we were waiting for a policeman to come give us a jump. But I just think the poor guy can't run 90 feet. And I question how hard his conditioning is, how much he conditions himself to be ready. I see Luis Robert, and I know some guys are built like Adonises, but then I see he's he looks like the clown of the team. He's got his hat sideways. He laughs, has a good time, runs the first, and hurts himself. That's it.
If I have a rule now for my baseball players that if you can't physically run to first place, you're not allowed to play. You're not allowed to play in the game. So like you have to do like 10 sprints to first at full speed before every game, and if you can't do it without you're not playing. That's my new rule, and I just made that up in my head right now. But his goal was to play 150 games this year, right?
Well, that was his goal. Was a disaster. Moncada being allowed to play when he couldn't run to first. He's gotten off to a good start, but that Tony La Russa, I mean, I was a big La Russa guy, but when they allowed that nonsense, don't hustle to first. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Yeah, they were telling him not to because they were worried they're going to get hurt. As professional athletes, mind you, running 90 feet at 80%.
Right.
They can't do it too brittle. Chopper too hopper. Just veer off onto the dugout. We'll get them next time. That's I
love
mantra.
People that say people should show, I don't even like the fact. I coached basketball for 6 years, and we had a kid that wore different colored gym shoes. That was a pretty good player. And me and Coach Les, and we had a talk with him. That don't go. We wear the same uniform. So I see Moncada come up with the line, and the line here, and the line there. And when he's doing good, it's okay. When he's doing bad, it's very noticeable. I just don't think they have the overall discipline from uniforms to everything else on that thing. They couldn't find the coach the other day.
He was
They
taking a
couldn't
shit.
find their first base coach.
Wait, what happened? I didn't see this.
Oh, Eddie, you got to hear this, Ed.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, they had to delay the game because the White Sox didn't have a first base coach.
And they're like looking in the
Oh,
dugout,
the first
like,
base. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought Griffel went missing or something.
No.
And Griffel completely threw him under the bus. So he said he was taking a shit, right? But it was found out that he was doing like some scouting report or something, and he just lost track of the game. What the fuck is he doing? A scouting report. His job is to coach first base. Why is he in the clubhouse?
Atlanta was up. The game was going on. Atlanta led off the inning. So now you'd think somebody would check. Where's so-and-so? Nobody says anything. And it was a 5-minute delay. And he came running out of that dugout embarrassed. So I don't know what happened. But this is a nonsense that you don't see with high-end professional baseball teams.
It don't happen under La Russa's watch, Mike.
No.
I'll tell you that.
I'll never forget. I saw Bevington walk out one night, and there was nobody warming.
Yeah, nobody warming. Terry Bevington is my earliest memories. Yeah, no one was warming up.
And the guy, the coach stood on and he went like this. Nobody's warming up.
Who are you looking for? He's like, hey, that man. They just. Oddly enough, looking back, aside from Ozzy, who I know you have history with,
I love Ozzy.
I know you do.
I think you could have an argument with the guy.
No.
Yeah.
What do you think we do every single fucking day in this office? That's all we do is argue. But I think Ricky Renneria might have been the only good hire that they've made at manager in the last 20 years.
You know what sunk him? Oakland. The Oakland series.
That game 3 in Oakland when he shit down his leg. Yep.
He crapped the bed. He was like Cheswick in Cuckoo's Nest.
He was
hey, yeah, he didn't know what to do. He was looking for help.
He was so fucking nervous in that game.
Yeah. Well, Madden too. Look what happened to Joe Madden.
Yeah.
I used to say when we were kids, we go, boy, I'll tell you what, if the Cubs ever win a pennant, they'll own this town. Who had Rizzo on the Yankees? Who had Cavi on Detroit? Brian can't get a hit to save his life, and Madden can't get a job.
It is wild.
You just guided the Cubs to the World Series. Star Trek is more believable than that ever happened, and you did it. And they're all in exile. They lost. We talk about hunger, Chief. We talk about hunger, Eddie.
Yep.
We talk about hunger. Were they hungry? All I heard the next year is, they're going to have a hangover. The Yankees never had a hangover. They won when they had those teams. I was very disappointed. They're the 85 Bears, aren't they?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
In a way, yeah. I mean, I forget Chris Bryant exists until his name pops up when they're in Chicago. He
never played 80%. He had to be perfect.
Yeah.
I always thought. He sat out with Knicks. I go, come on, man.
Oh, totally.
You got a Brad Finger. Come on. Play ball, you know?
Yeah, that's always been the rumor about him too. That Chris Bryant, he just not. That's not. It makes you appreciate those Hawks teams, like that run from 10 to 15. Those were the type of athletes you needed. Guys that had that.
Hockey players are different animals, man.
Yeah,
it's all there is to. Jeremy Roenick, one of my dear friends. We had so much fun together, but I had a thing called Top Dog at Maywood Park. We had the top 30 stands. It was going to be a contest. It was the day after a Hawk game. He breaks his leg that night. He shows up on the motorcycle with his leg in a cast and does the show.
That sounds like Jeremy Roenick.
That's the JR I know.
Jeremy. He goes, I made a deal, Mike. He had the crutches and everything. They didn't. I mean, I saw Bobby Hull come back after a broken jaw. One game he missed. One game. Yep. They gave him a football helmet, wired his jaw, and he got in fights and everything. Bedard didn't play for 6 weeks. 6 weeks, guys. I mean, with a broken jaw. And they put the helmet on, and I know guys are afraid of the money, and he's a golden child now. But Bobby Hull, the guys back then, Chief, I think you can agree.
Yeah.
Gordie Howe crap bigger than Gretzky, no matter how great Gretzky was. You ever see Gordie Howe in his heyday?
Oh, it's like my favorite.
His shirt off?
I always post a picture of him.
It's unbelievable.
He's on a fishing boat, and it's just like, this guy's chiseled out of steel. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Sports is great, isn't it, guys?
It's the best.
I love him.
It's the best.
I hate him, but I love him.
Yeah.
He's been going, man.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we just had, like, I've talked to him about this a bunch, but, like, after 2016 with the Cubs, the Sox started to rebuild. They traded for all those prospects. There was a minute, and then 2018-19 with the Bears, there was a minute when you thought the Bears, the Sox, and the Cubs, and I don't know as much about the Hawks and Bulls, but those 3 teams were going to be like on a tear for the next few years at least, all at the same time. Never even
in the Sox,
fucking sniffed it. I'll never believe it again until there's new owners.
Because you don't. If Eddie says I'm building a house, and it's great, Eddie, congratulations. Who'd you get? Well, I got the worst architects I can get to build. So when I go up the stairs, I'll fall through the stairs. And, they go, what do you mean? That's Kenny Williams. You got a guy that was there for 21 years. You got 1 World Series. You got Hahn, who didn't know what day it was.
But that World Series even was and I hate admitting this because that team from start to finish that year was incredible.
They almost blew it in the regular season.
In that last month of the season, they had a 15-game lead and it got down to a game and a half in the last month of the season.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was only 15 years old. I just turned 16 during the World Series that year, and I was working at Target, and every game they were losing, Cleveland was inching up and up, and I'm like,
I'm telling you,
this is how my life is gonna be. And then they obviously won it.
Yeah.
But like even then, Jermaine Dye, it was either the year before or 2 years before, broke his leg in the playoff game, fell on the ball. He was a cast-off, Bobby Jenks, alcohol issues in Anaheim. They just completely cut him and said, we don't want you anymore, closing the World Series that year. Juan Uribe, journeyman, Tadahito Iguchi coming over from Japan. Every single thing went their way that year. Of course they built a World Series team. They tried to duplicate that method time and time over to no success. They're like trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice.
Those were all AJ Brzezinski, one of the
he was a cast-off.
Yeah.
He was a cast-off.
They did it right. Bobby Jenks is great. We went to Boston with the team, with the score, and we went to a bar, and Bobby Jenks, it was great. First, I'm with some players like Knurkle, and they're watching themselves on TV, get all the highlights, which is weird. Mm-hmm. You're sitting with them, and you're seeing, they're drinking, but then they look up, and they no emotion. But Bobby Jenks, they left. Bobby Jenks ordered a tray of Jägermeisters for the whole bar, okay? And people took them off. And the tray had Jägermeister.
And he just
drank it from the whole tray, man. Yeah. And then another tool walked in. Who was the guy that was the pitcher that was terrific for Boston and then went to Florida? Beckett.
Josh Beckett.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, what a tool. He'd sit there, I'm busy, right? He's sitting by himself. He's talking to people. People trying to talk. What a tool.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a grade A asshole.
Oh, just a grade A tool. Grade A.
Mike.
But Bobby Jenks was great.
So we couldn't get your Mount Rushmore of Chicago athletes. Who's like your Mount Rushmore of Chicago athletes?
I'll give it to you right now.
To hang out with, though. Give me your to hang out with.
Oh, Rodman. Well, one night I hung out with Harbaugh, Roenick, and Chelios. That was fun.
That's a night.
That was fun. And I took it. They said, take us to these neighborhoods because they always hung out downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I took them to Edison Park Inn. And when you walk in with Jeremy Roenick and Jim Harbaugh, because Chelios left at Pasta. When you walk in with those two guys, the whole place, it's like Liberty Valance walked in.
Red Sox partying.
You ever saw Liberty Valance? He walked into the diner and the whole place hushed up. Here's these two guys that walked in, and it was cool. I'd say Roenick, Harbaugh, a guy I partied with a lot, Jesse Rogers. I think
like
he's
Jesse.
great.
Really?
Yeah, Jesse was. I corrupted that poor guy. I really did. I corrupted that poor guy. And another guy Rodman was the best. Roenick was great. Ditka.
Yeah.
Ditka? Okay.
Oh my God, we used to get blind. He was a great guy, and I hope he's doing okay. I haven't heard much from him. I guess he's getting a little older and stuff. He looks like Hemingway. He's got the beard and stuff.
Yeah, he does kind of look like Hemingway.
Right? He looks like
he does. He does.
I got the picture here of you, Roenick, and Harbaugh at Basta Pasta. It's a great picture.
What we ended up doing? This was great. There were kids in there, and they go, God, someday I'd like to play hockey like you. The restaurant, he goes, let's play now. And they had brought their sticks for autographs, and because they had heard he played floor hockey with them in the restaurant.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. We did Roenick's. We have that exact picture pulled up. Ironically, right now we played in Roenick's. It was like a fantasy camp type deal up in like, where was that? Like
Vernon Hills.
Yeah, Vernon Hills. There was some ice rink up in the north suburbs, and afterwards he just bought like a shit ton of pizza for all these random people, and it was just hanging out, drinking Miller Lite with them. And
should have been a lifelong hawk. We always get rid of our guys. Nobody stays.
Nobody does.
Jordan.
Leaves. That's it. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Jordan got kicked out.
Yeah,
well, that's true. They forced him out. That's true.
Right, Roenick.
Yeah.
Jordan, Chelios. I mean, you
Sale,
name Frank Thomas,
Bryant, Rizzo,
Patrick Kane.
Kane's a mistake. It was a mistake.
Big mistake.
You got to have life. You need a veteran in the locker room.
Totally.
I just don't understand the thinking that people don't want a veteran presence that's a great player. Mike, that can still do things.
The only team we really haven't touched on much is the Bulls. Is in some ways, I think this is the lowest they've been since Jordan.
I think so too.
Are you? Do you have the same belief, or where do you stand?
I'm with you, Eddie. I have the same belief, Bill. I told Paxson, take Brunson. Brunson. Oh no, he's down lower. Why? I coached against him at Notre Dame. The guy scored 41 points. I mean, the guy was the whole Stevenson team. And then I watched him at Villanova. I think they took Valentine. They took Wendell Carter Jr.
Yeah.
They took Wendell Carter Jr., but Brunson would be gone now, just like Markkanen's gone, just like Butler's gone. That's why Eddie's right. The Bulls are at a low end. The team that could have owned this town forever was DePaul. In the 80s, they were bigger than the Bulls, bigger than anybody. And they just ruined that. Every Chicago team, there's nothing easy. Nothing easy. There's no Atlantis, an Atlanta Brave team that wins 100 games. There's no, like, I told my buddy I saw almost every Jordan game, and I went to the stadium a lot, and I used to tell anybody that was sitting within Steve Cashel, anybody that at press row, enjoy this. This will never, especially in this town, ever happen again.
Yeah.
And it was like a carnival every night,
I bet.
So, yeah. I mean, I sat by Madonna. Madonna would come. There were celebrities. Rip Torn was on, the guy that was on Larry Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing a play in Chicago, and a guy called and he says, is there a way you can get Rip Torn, who was, Artie on the Larry Sanders show? Can you get him in the Bulls game? He wants to see Jordan. I go, yeah, we'll get him in the Score Skybox. Me, John Suntress, Jesse Rogers, and Rip Torn at the Score Skybox. This guy's fantastic. This guy's unbelievable. This guy's great. Then we went to Gibson's, and we got toasty. We had to carry Rip Torn back to his hotel. We had to put him. I mean, these guys, Keanu Reeves, I met him at Gibson's. He goes, hey, man, this is my buddy Joe Esposito. He's my assistant. We wondered if you could get us tickets. And I go, well, yeah, I can get you tickets, but you got to come down to Belmont on the Score to do an interview. He goes, what's that? I go, I do radio in Chicago. You come down and do an interview, and then I'll get you in to see Jordan. He goes, I got a better idea. Keanu Reeves. I'm watching. I'm freaking out. I saw him in Speed. Yeah. He's telling me, I got a better idea. How about we go to the game, and then I'll do the interview the next day? That's a horrible idea because I won't see you the next day. He came down to the Score. Foreman High School heard about it. They're across the street. A line of kids trying to get into the radio station. So, yeah, we had some great experiences, some good guys. And, they all wanted to see Jordan. You'll never see that again.
Nah, not on that level.
No, never. On any, no. We're hoping that, Kobe White can get things done, Yeah. Think about it.
Oh, he might win comeback player of the year, though, or whatever this year. Most improved player.
We have this young guy who does some social media for us named Rick. And he was just talking to me about how fun this Bulls team is. And he's 23. Like he hasn't been through all the lumps and the pain.
Bushy tail.
Yeah. And he's like, Kobe White. And it's like, talk to me in 10 years. We'll see how you feel. Cause it's.
Yeah. Well, I think that when you look at it and you see that, what you're usually supposed to build off 6 championships. You're supposed to be able to retain some excellence of some kind to be in the playoff picture.
Yeah.
And they just went the other way.
They could have rode that wave for the entire duration of Jerry Reinsdorf's life, assuming he lives another, I don't know, he's healthy as Knox.
Well, and you look, I saw it, we have that hockey podcast, Spittin' Chicklets here, and they were interviewing this guy, Frank Vetrano, who came up with the Bruins when they had Chara and Bergeron and that great leadership group. And all those guys have aged out, retired. They finished their careers there. The Bruins are still on top. And Vetrano's like, those guys set the culture that allowed them to they taught me how to be a pro. They had like a culture of excellence and doing things, being pros, doing things the right way. So even after all those great players have gone, they never had a rebuild. They're still first place.
The Hawks are the team that put Boston into their heyday. Yeah. They traded Phil Esposito, traded Kenny Hodge, traded John McKenzie, pie face. They put some good players on their team. And who did we get in return? Hit Martin, Gilles Marat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We didn't get equal value, and those guys became legends.
Yep.
And Phil Esposito was on Bobby Hull's line, but when Bobby Hull left, you guys don't even know. I don't know how old were you, Chief, back in 67? Were you even born?
No, I think my mom was about 8. She was about 8 years old.
Okay, you guys are young guys.
Yeah.
When he left, that's like letting Ohtani go.
Yeah.
When he left, he scored 77 goals in the WHL.
Yep.
And the Hawks were never the same.
For $1 million, which
for a lousy $1 million.
Yep.
Works at trillions. He owned they own real estate, everything. Yep. So they've made some piss poor decisions.
Yeah, we gotta, that's where it's like you circle back to Poles, and he was given an interview maybe 3 weeks ago. He's like, I was hired to break a cycle. Like it's like we've gone through all the teams now of just this cycle of misery where you get a little bit of hope and then they break your heart. So that comment from Poles, that really resonated with me when he's like, I was hired to break a cycle, and that's where it's like I want to believe that they can just be competent. Be competent.
But do you believe his first speech was, we're going to take back the North and never give it up?
Yeah.
I can go back to speeches that make them look foolish. Okay. I mean, seriously. I mean, so we can pick and choose. The talk is over.
Yeah.
He's got to prove. And if Caleb Williams, Carmen DeFalco told me this. Carmen Sharp, he's been a believer in the Bears. He goes, but if the Bears win less games this year with Caleb Williams than they did with Fields, that's a problem.
That's a big problem.
So he's pressured
to
win 8 games next year, go 8-9 with a team he doesn't know, with a league he's never played in. So it's gonna be a challenge, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens if they take it.
I'm hoping the city of Chicago has a large enough brain to, like, if Caleb Williams lights it up and he's awesome and they still suck because of other reasons, I don't know, defense falls apart or injuries or whatever, I hope they realize that, like, they can compartmentalize that this isn't his fault and don't compare him to Fields.
We need him to have a Stroud year.
Yeah,
that's right.
And he is walking into a better position than anybody could ask for.
Yes,
He's got 2 stud wide receivers. One of them's, on the downside of his career, but that's fine. He's a number 2 now.
I don't know about that.
Like,
he's still fucking really good.
He's still really fucking, but wrong side of 30, right?
Yeah, but still on what, 1,200? I think it's at a career high.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he's
good hands.
Yeah.
DJ Moore. Here's what I didn't like.
He's a fucking dude.
He's a dog. Yeah,
he's a.
I loved him though, because this is what it's really about. For a year, Justin's my guy. We love Justin Fields. We love Justin. Mm-hmm. I'd want to, if he comes back, it'll be great. As soon as Justin Fields is gone, he goes, business is business. He just moved on. But I remember Allen Robinson catching 200 balls the last 2 years with Trubisky. And then he said, after Trubisky left, he says, I'm anxious for Justin Fields. And you end up with 36 catches on the side of a milker.
Yeah.
So, receivers, I thought DJ Moore broke his own records last year with Justin Fields. So I think what the Bears are seeing is what maybe we didn't see all the time, that there were receivers wide open that Fields was missing, that they think Williams would hit.
Yeah, I think.
I remember DJ Moore like this. They showed him and he's waving. And Fields started running with the ball and didn't give it enough time to unfold. And I think they see maybe 15 more passes he could have caught. Maybe Komet could have caught 5 more. Mooney could have been a little better. I think that's what they're seeing, that he was talented and he wanted. The thing I hated about it is he killed himself to try to win. He really, I never saw a guy, he played his ass off and he did what he could with his talent.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. Well, it's going to be a long 3 weeks. Let's just get there. Let's get our guy, and then we'll figure it out. But
You're right.
Yeah, you're the best, man. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
thank you.
You got to make it down to the new office to see Cat and everything.
We'll get you.
Is
here.
that with the basketball court?
Yes.
Because I went to the other one.
Yeah, we had you in here. Yeah, we had you in the old one.
Now the gym. Where's the gym at and everything?
West Town.
It's right here.
Yeah, West Town.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And it looks good.
Yeah, you got to come by.
I will come by. I told Dave, I don't want to just barge in.
No, you're allowed to. Just barge in.
We'll find a day.
We'll text if you're downtown and you want to come in.
Just park in the back?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just hit us up and we'll do another pod. We'll
all right, that'd be great.
We got an open seat for you right here. Just come in and sit on down.
It.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. I enjoy your work, man.
Anyway, people could support you, Mike. Anything you want to get out there?
Thanks, Eddie. north2north.com, NORTH, number 2 NORTH. For the Twitter, north2north.com. Also, we got Raging Mouth coming out in 2 weeks, The Score Years, which will be my podcast. And somebody big just died. My podcast on celebrities that dropped dead. We just had Eric Carmen of the Raspberries die, Apollo Creed. It's a podcast devoted. See, they only tell you a little bit about these guys. We try to delve in a little bit more.
I like that.
To that. So it's a lot of fun. But I appreciate it, guys.
Of course, Mike. You're the best. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.